So what do we do in the first session?
We'll give them an intro, kya hoga, about SoftC and the processes basically.
So the session 1 is an introductory session where we do what Ganesh has just told us right now, where you're talking to them about, you're asking them about their S and O, right? So situation and outcome, and then you are giving them details about SoftC. So explain what you are going to do with the client. Basically, you're explaining the SoftC to them. Then you can also explain them flip. At the end of the session, when you end the session, tell the client that now that you understand how we can help you, do you think this process will work for you? The client would generally say yes. Ask them there itself. So can we book an appointment for the next session now? So have a call to action as a part of your first session itself, because if the client commits to you there, they will continue with the process. If they go back home, they speak to 20 people, then they get confused again. So you want them to, if as far as possible, give you a commitment at the end of first session that they will continue with the session. Is this clear for all of you?
Yes.
For anyone who's thinking of starting a practice, this is probably the most important step. A lot of people have come back and told me that Nitin, people come to me for the first free session, but फिर subsequent paid session के लिए नहीं आते. वो नहीं आते क्योंकि आपने उनको commitment के लिए नहीं बोला है. You have not asked them for a call to action. It's important that before your session ends, they commit to you, or at least they tell you कि हाँ, I know I want to book the session. Let me just check what my schedule is. Is this clear? Any doubts on the call to action part?
Yeah, I have a doubt. What if they go like, okay, this seems fine, but I need to talk to XYZ before I commit?
Correct. So before you talk to XYZ, I wanted to know, have you got all the details that you need? And do you feel convinced that this will help me? Then you can talk to them.
Okay.
Right? Because if, so for example, let's say a person comes and says, I need to talk to my parents about this. Right. And if they themselves are not convinced, then would they be able to talk to their parents properly?
But what if they are convinced, but they are not that type of personality who will be able to convince?
That's a secondary thing. My first point is, are they convinced or not? Because that becomes your reference point to know whether you've clarified all the doubts or not. See, it doesn't mean that every client who comes to you in the first session will always come to you for a paid session also. That's not the point. The idea is not that we only want to have more and more people coming to us. The call to action becomes a reference point for us to understand whether we have been able to explain everything clearly to the client or not.
Okay.
It's more a feedback for your delivery rather than the client's conviction.
Okay.
Now, after this, when the client says, you know, I'm still not convinced. So you can ask them, what is the doubt? So that actually tells you what you need to address in the next session when you're working with the clients. You need to know what are the probable reasons because of which clients don't get convinced.
Right.
Is this clear for all of you?
Yes.
I quickly need a yes in the chat box so that I understand, because without this, if this is not done, your subsequent sessions become useless. Clients are not coming to you for session after this.
One more thing. So if suppose you charge a minimal amount on the first session, and will that be hampering according to you?
No, that just depends. See, generally speaking, we keep it free. If you're doing online, you can keep the first session free because there are no charges that are involved for you. But if you are doing a class, if you are doing a physical setup, and if you have to pay, let's say, a rent for that place on a session by session basis,
right,
then you may at least want to recover that cost. So that's a personal call, but it's generally that the first session will either be free or subsidized.
Okay. Yeah, I had a doubt with the free thing.
In fact, we can tell them about a package deal also, rough estimation, kitna lagega, time, session and all. That would really help to come back again for
correct. Them. So plus clarify any other doubts.
Like lot of people think कितना lifelong है, मेरे को तो हमेशा जिंदगी भर करना है. So tell them
which
journey
in,
की part session होगा.
which includes duration and frequency. On an average, for every coaching related client, you will tell them 8 to 10 sessions, one session every week for around an hour.
So
That's a,
it's a good idea to take a booking amount also if they get convinced with the idea of taking another session, just in case to tell them that I have to take out a time from my schedule, etc. Because lot of time people commit there, but when they go home back and their mind changes. So is it a good idea to do this thing like a booking amount, keeping a booking amount?
see what
50.
I do is I tell the client, if you are, so if the client says, yeah, I want to book a session. So I'll tell the client that if you want to book a session, then please book the calendar on the calendar. You can book it and you can make the payment over there. If they are coming to you for physical space, then you can ask them to pay for the next session.
But mostly they are excited to pay also. So
Yeah,
I
they're
think
excited to. The moment you have given them the call to action and you have told them that, are we then fixing up an appointment? The client says yes. So you say, all right. So are there any other question that you have? The only question the client will ask after this is, what will be the charges? You tell them the charges. Correct. You tell them the charges, and if the charges suit them, they will tell you, all right, so how do I get started? So you can let me know when is the date. We can fix the appointment and you can make the payment for the same. They can make the payment to you then and there.
and make it convenient like Paytm type and all, because then
हाँ.
easier to, so yeah.
You can, then तो फिर अब आज की तारीख में पेमेंट के बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हैं. So you could do any of them.
हाँ नहीं, they have doubt कि अरे मेरा मतलब कार्ड सिस्टम रहेगा, मेरे को पेटीएम है क्या, फोन पे है क्या, I said सब है, दे दो.
Correct. So those are good things to keep in mind because they make your life more convenient, and these are really small things, but they can make a lot of difference in how effectively you are able to set up your practice. Now, in the second session, you then begin by recapping S and O, and then you go into the future. You will then give the client a homework. Homework will be to complete the future. Any questions on this?
यहाँ पे नितिन, I have personally faced ना homework में, I figured कि चलो मैं भी लिखता हूँ, so I have just changed the strategy कि यहीं पे ना मैं I said कि full you narrate, I will record and transcript and give you back. Then I found कि they are more committed to come to the next session. That's only what I figured over the period.
That's okay. That you can do. Having said that, the point is when the client is sitting and narrating things in front of you, they only are narrating based on what's happening right now. There are times when new ideas come to their mind later on. So you still have to give them an option कि आप घर जाके अगर कुछ याद आता है तो लिख के लेके आओ.
ठीक है.
And then, so this is, sorry, the future, homework, and then one takeaway. What is the biggest takeaway for today? What have you understood about what we have done today? How would it benefit you? Always ask for a takeaway at the end of the session. Session 3. You get into review, whether you have written the future or not. Complete the future if anything left. And then do the task list. Finally, the takeaway. Session 4. Sorry. Homework would be complete the task list. Review. Hindrances. When then. Positive emotion. And then complete sequence. Client picks up 3 tasks, 3 assignments that they will complete every week. These assignments become their homework.
I didn't get this part. Like every week, as in?
So after the 4th session, you've created a task list.
Right.
The task list has, let's say, 20 tasks.
Okay.
Now we can't expect the client to complete all 20 tasks in 1 week, right?
Right.
It will be too overwhelming. So we break it down and we tell them, tell me 3 tasks that you will do in the coming week.
Okay.
And that task becomes their assignment. So they will give you at what frequency, at what duration they will do the task. So for example, the client says every day I will walk for 15 minutes.
Okay.
So that's their one task. I would only eat 1 gulab jamun in a day. Second task. I would sit and meditate for at least 5 minutes. Third task.
Okay.
Clear? And the tasks or the assignments need to have a commitment level of 80% plus. If they don't, you will ask them to chunk it down so that they are sure that they will do it.
And how do we know that they have a commitment?
Ask them.
I mean, like, how do we assess?
Ask them, how convinced are you that you will be able to do this in the coming week on a scale of 1 to 100?
Okay.
They'll give you the answer. Session 5 onwards, review. If the client was not able to do their assignments, then anchoring and when then specifically for the task they were not able to do. If they completed the assignment, then 3 tasks, 3 assignments for the coming week. And anchoring plus when then for the new tasks. Clear till here? Questions? Am I audible for all of you?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now this continues for every session from here onwards. Till the client eventually says that I think I am on track, I should now be able to consistently do everything that I want to do.
And in case they say that there is something still wrong and still the feeling, then it's an intense negative emotion.
अगर intense
That
होगा
was-
तो आपको already पहले बता देंगे कि मुझे अंदर से एकदम I feel so compelled. I feel so वो उनके आवाज में आपको उनकी बात करने में समझ में आ जाएगा. If that's not happening, then probably the when then or the anchor is not strong enough.
Okay, fine.
Nitin, I have a doubt. So how do you distinguish between, like, are they getting dependent on you, or
They wouldn't,
like, suppose
because
they
the
go like,
moment,
no, I would still like to work. So
because
you
the
continue working on it?
no, the idea for us is when they say I would still like to work for what? We always start with outcome in our mind, right? So if the client is able to complete all the tasks and they still say that I would still like to work with you, my question is, work towards what? What do you want me to help you with? Now, if they are able to
Probably
come up with
something
something
like-
new, if they are able to come up with something new where the outcome is completely different, right? Then that's okay, because now it's like they've moved from one outcome to another, and maybe in the other outcome, if they need some help, they can seek that help. That's not an issue. But if they say कि नहीं मैं कर पा रहा हूँ, फिर भी मुझे आपका support चाहिए. So my question would be, what will happen if you don't get my support? Oh, I feel I'll not be able to do it. I'll do a when then and anchoring for that.
Okay. No, if they just go like, no, I want you as a mentor or something like that.
That, see, if the idea is I want to have someone that I can speak to once in a while over a phone, so that I can interact and see if there's something required, that's okay. But there's a difference between I need you as a mentor and I need you as a therapist for the same problem, or as a coach for the same outcome. So if they want to have someone that they can bounce their ideas on later on, कि अच्छा इसके लिए मुझे help की ज़रूरत है कि नहीं है, that's okay, because at times the client doesn't really know when to seek help, when not to seek help. To have that one person that they can connect with over a call to just quickly in 2 minutes check, do I need to or can I do this on my own? That's all right. But if they insist कि नहीं मुझे तो आपके पास session के लिए ही आना है, then my question, what will happen if you stop coming to me for sessions? And then we do when then and anchoring. Unless it's an intense negative emotion, in which case you refer them to someone else. Or if you're a therapist and you work with that intense negative emotion.
Okay.
But in the way we work, it doesn't happen. Just remember to not hug the client during or after the session. Utna yaad rakhna bas.
Okay.
In the sense, there are many times when clients will get, like, especially in therapies, they'll get breakthroughs and they'll tell you, can I hug you? Okay. There the answer is no. No, you can't hug me.
No, thanks to the coronavirus.
You can either use corona. कुछ सचिन कुछ बोल रहे हैं?
They're trying to avoid transference.
You're trying to avoid transference. Also, because the moment they hug you, that feeling becomes more solidified, and you are kind of when you don't allow the client to hug you, there is a distance that's being maintained, not just mentally, but that physical distance is what the client carries forward into their mental space also. Right? So I've had.
You may end up anchoring yourself as their pleasure, this thing as well. No?
Correct. There's a possibility for that. So therefore, I would tell the client. So I've had clients telling me, can I hug you? And I'll tell the client that, you know, when we are doing therapies and sessions, it's ethically not right for me to hug my client. Okay. Or it doesn't fit in line with the kind of guidelines that we follow for me to be able to hug my client. So put it on guideline. Because
can't we even tap their back or something like that?
No,
if like they are having a breakdown.
No, if they're having a breakdown, give them a tissue paper.
And just sit back, the hands folded.
Just sit back. Wait. See, give them, when the client is crying, especially in therapy, when the client is crying, one of the mistakes that we make is we try to console the client immediately. Maybe the client just needs to want to be with that space, with that feeling, because sometimes they've never had a chance to cry. When we start tapping them, patting them, it's like someone is trying to make me feel better. Maybe in that moment, what they're looking for is just to vent it out completely, and you're trying to help them. Stops them from being able to vent it out completely.
Okay.
Right? So allow them, give them that. So you have to be there, which means you're physically present. The client knows if something goes wrong, my practitioner is there. They've not left me and gone out to cry. They've also given me tissue paper, so they are considerate. उनको पता है कि मतलब मुझे help की ज़रूरत है. But beyond that, wait till they calm down.
And no physical touching, even if it's like keeping the hand on the hand.
No. Not during intense negative emotion. The only place where you touch the client is when you are doing anchoring. That's about it.
Okay, one more doubt I had. Suppose if we are working with family or relatives or somebody like you on a personal level would, you know, have physical contact with, like you would hug them and stuff. So, and if something comes up during the therapy, so you still just sit back and just go like, okay, take a tissue?
Yeah. During the therapy, you're a therapist, you're not their friend.
Okay.
I think that is the principle of,
Sachin, kuch bole, that is the principle of?
That is kind of the principle of empathy as well, right? You do not get carried away with their emotions. You are their rock in that sense. You have to be there, show that acceptance for what they are thinking. But if you get involved with them emotionally, then it kind of breeds dependency in a way.
Correct. And both you and the therapist, you and the client may need to go to another therapist after that.
Okay, one more doubt I had. Like, if suppose, what if it so happens that, you know the client very well and you have seen their struggles. So do you first, like emotionally, mentally use self-hypnosis and disconnect yourself and then start the session, or you just don't take the session at all?
If you can use self-hypnosis to become disconnected and take the session, do that. If you are not able to do that, if you're not able to disconnect yourself even after self-hypnosis, refer them to someone else. Ideally, refer them to someone else because our family members rarely take us seriously. So it's a good idea, speak to someone in the group. tell them my family members will come to you, your family members will come to me. But
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, also, if we end up doing the anchoring or self-hypnosis to disconnect with them, it may even get, overflow into your regular interactions as well, right?
नहीं
If
वैसे
there
नहीं
is
होगा, because that will depend on what suggestion you're giving yourself. There are people who have actually
contextually
anchored.
indicated.
There are people who have actually anchored. Let's say they have clinic space. They will tell you the moment I enter the clinic space, I am a different person altogether. So it depends upon what anchor you have created. But yes, my personal take is it's far safer to refer them to someone else and ask someone else to refer their family members to you. Are we good till here?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So this is your complete session flow. In the end, in the last session, you do a review, takeaway, and if they can give you a testimonial, that's even better. I generally would tell my clients to give me a call every 15 days after the sessions are over for 2 minutes to just let me know how are things going. Once I know that for 3 months, 2 months, the client has been able to sustain the new state and that they've not had a relapse, I know that now we are good to go. Now the client can continue with whatever they want to do. But I would give that option to a client after the sessions are over. Ki if you want, every 2 weeks, just drop me a message, give me a call and let me know in 2 minutes how are things going on. That's about it.